Good afternoon, guys. How are you doing? Yeah, that's right. It's afternoon. I'm working for a new contact today. And I know the guy, but I don't know the builder. They work together anyway. Mate knew I was a plasterer, and they've had some issues. They've been brought into this job because there were some issues or something with the previous builder. Not being very good apparently, and making a bit of a mess of things. So these two guys are in here to try and sort it out and take over the contract. And of course it makes things a little bit difficult when you've got to rectify other people's work and stuff, you know, how can you price for things like that. So let's have a look what we've been up to today. I mean, I had to prep everything up and do a little bit of boarding and stuff. But basically a lot of this board work was out. You can see that we've had to contend with things like this. You can see I've had to put foam in behind. And one of the main things that actually took quite a bit of time, if I can show you, because obviously as you walk in through the property, so here's the front door, as you walk in through the property, here we go, look, we've got a succession of horizontal beads there, which do give you the opportunity to cast your eye down there. Now these were all over the place, everything was twisting around and stuff. And I noticed it as soon as I walked in. So obviously you can get to see them from this side as well. So everything was twisted and out, so we've had to try and kind of line everything up, and we did it with a combination of holding beads in, coming back and having a look. But as you can see, well, we'll have another look tomorrow, but everything is much more parallel now. So look, if we can get this line here to line up with this line as we go back, see it starts to disappear and it's all paralleled up. Something like this, if anything's kicking out, you will see that. So it was well worth taking the time to scrutinize and make sure we got everything square, especially on this run. This one is still a tiny little bit out, as you can see. Watch this gap close up here. So this one and this one, it's a smidgen out if I take it slowly, but it's so much better than it was. It's literally just a few mil out now. But like I say, like, you can get, there'll be a point where you can cast and you'll notice if anything in there is out. I can take you up a bit higher. It's all looking a lot better. So that's what we scrutinised over. I've got 2 days in here. Like I say, I've had to set up all the beads, do all the scrimming, etc. That took pretty much the whole of one hit. I didn't really start getting any plaster on until about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is just one hit really in here. I managed to squeeze these two sides on, but other than that, it is one hit. And temperature has been up. The door's been open, so the draft coming through. So yeah, it was probably just over a bag and a half, and I just about kept up with it. I didn't want to, I mean, normally plasterer on regular conditions, regular sort of temperatures and stuff, you should be able to comfortably handle knocking up 2 bags in your buckets of 20 meters, yeah? And then you might be able to squeeze a little bit more on. But where I noticed that, let's say the front door's open, the back door's open, if they lock that, yes they have. Draft coming through, warm air, I didn't want to push my luck too much, and a bag and a half just over was definitely good enough. So, right, I'm gonna come back here tomorrow and finish this room, and we'll see if we can get some other recording going. So yeah, it's not the beginning of the day, it's the end of the day. But where they've had the radio on, it's new builders and stuff, I didn't want to be recording in here, and they've been in and out and been very noisy in fact, so it would have been very difficult to record anything anyway. So, with that being said, I'm going home, and I'll see you here first thing in the morning. If you are a regular to the channel and you've been wondering, how's Smurf's back tyre doing? Yeah, it still happens. Good Morning guys, it's 20 to 7 in the morning and we are going to travel over to Tilehurst where that job is and get back in there. The temperature at this time in the morning is 14 degrees and I was complaining about people complaining about the weather in a previous video, the British people complaining about the weather, and I'm going to complain about the weather. It's freezing at 14 degrees. Last few days have been like 29, 28 into the 30s and now it's suddenly dropped down to 14 degrees at this time in the morning and I've had to put a hoodie on. Right, let's get back to this job and get in there. I've got the key code now so I can get in there a little bit earlier. So let's get in there and do some recording. And do you know what? I think we're just going to do this video just for fun. If you're a beginner looking for tuition or anything like that, go and look elsewhere. This video is not going to do it. We're just going to what I'm going to do is just do a succession of montages, and probably I'm going to stick with the reggae theme, I think, because all the videos quite previously when I discovered the YouTube audio library, there's some really good tracks on there. I mean, there's some pants ones, I've got to admit, you know, and they're designed to just be in the background and just be spoken over, but there is some really good ones on there. I think, I'm not sure how they get paid for it, but anyway. So this video is, I think, just going to be a load of montages, a load of decent reggae music, and yeah, it's just for fun, not for beginners. It's just for fun, okay? Fun. Okay, here we are, back in the job before anybody else, and today our quota is pretty much just to get this room complete. And remember, this job has been taken over by these builders because the other builders got thrown out, apparently. I don't know, I didn't ask too much, but I've been called in. They're brand new builders for me. I know one of the guys, kind of a friend sort of thing, but I don't know the actual builder guy, but yeah, they seem like nice guys and everything. Yeah, it was quite a pleasant day yesterday. They're like a little bit of quiz master, the pop master thing, and stuff. So yeah, they're nice enough fellas, and they seem to be quite happy with what I'm able to produce for them. So as we can see, like from we got lots of joints and stuff in there. It looks like an effort to kind of use up small bits of plasterboard, etc. Lots of irregular things, and a lot of stuff did need straightening out in here. Here's a great example. So look, I didn't show this yesterday because they had the radio and stuff, but look, we've had to pack out beads and stuff to straighten things up, etc. There was just a lot of that going on. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mishmash, but it's nothing we can't deal with. I haven't been upstairs, let's have a look. Also, I've had previous plasterers in, and I gotta admit, there's going to be some making good needed. Now, that's been re-skimmed, and for some reason there's a huge bald patch there. I know sometimes it's easy to miss things. I call things like that cat faces, but that is the biggest cat face I've ever seen in my life. Let's have a look where the lights are coming in. So obviously these frames that must have been taken out for some reason, and this has all been re-skimmed. You can see the original here. And as the frames and stuff have been pulled out, look, it's breached. Some of the plaster. Have a look what's going on here. This has been left too early. These are air bubbles that haven't been sorted out. Ripples. I dare say this has been put on with like a flexible trowel, and maybe a Plastiflex run over it, and then it's just been left. But look, that's not ideal. Decorator won't be happy with that, I know. See, reveals a little bit wobbly and stuff. Internals. It's not the worst plastering, but certainly not the best, is it? It's not too bad, but these internals are a little bit rough. Okay, shall we just get out of here and deal with what it is that they brought us in to do. I mean, I can feel here, I can feel there's a joint or something, what, chase maybe? This is what happens when you use really flexible trowels. And it looks like as well in here that this mate is throwing on more than you can handle. There's certainly a lot of layers going on there, isn't there? That'll be the original stuff. The original plaster is kind of failing, and then it's been reskimmed on top of that. Okay, back in here where we need to concern ourselves. I don't have to plaster in here. Apparently there's some sort of larder thing going in there, so we only have to get so far. There's some cupboard. This is going to be the kitchen area. Now, the heat was up yesterday. So what we did, because you can see we've got quite a bit of awkward, there was a lot of setting up, a lot of beads, a lot of scrimming, and paying attention to getting things as straight as we possibly could. So yesterday the heat was up, and like I say, the plaster can normally deal with a couple of bags when you've got some meters to put on. But yesterday I knocked up just a bag and a half because the temperature was up and because it's so awkward. And what I like to do in things like this is knock up. I'm going to knock up probably a bag and a half again, and what I tend to do is like choose a couple of decent sized walls. So let's say for instance we're going to take this wall and this wall. Knocking up a bag and a half is probably going to be like, then once I've got those two main areas on, then I'll have a look in the bucket and then I'll think, well, it probably might be enough just to get this on round here or something, and this on, and then that's my first hit, and then I'll turn back, sort that out, knock up and lay that down, put the second coat on, and then with the when I knock up, I might knock up a little bit more for the second coat, and you're able to push off and maybe nip off another little awkward thing. So like I say, when you got a lot of bits and pieces like this, there's always seems to be a bit of a home for a little bit of plaster, some window reveals or something, you know. So generally the strategy is knock up, get a decent area, nip off a couple of little awkward bits, because I see some guys that come in and go, all right, okay, so what we'll do then, we'll bang this, bang that, bang, 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 we'll get a massive great big hit on all that, and then you're left with all these awkward little bits and pieces, and you knock up half a bag, and it takes you just as long as it did to do all that massive great big meterage work. So, you know, it's how you want to do it really, but for me, yeah, I just try to balance it out a little bit. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Okay, these are our weapons of choice today. Is the 20x5 carbon steel trowel by Marshalltown. It's always hard to show because the camera tries to focus on that end, but you can see the trowel is really rather straight indeed. This blade, if I hold it up here, look, just kicks up tiny bit at the front and back, but the majority of this blade all the way up and down is very, very straight indeed. Can I get it? Can I show it? Anyway, so 20x5, and then for the last little bit we're switching to the Rafina Flex 2. As you can see, it's a very flexible trowel, and that just closes the surface in right at the end, gives it that nice little sheen, as you can see on here, what we did yesterday, that everybody likes to see, but not too much of the shine because the mist coat from the paint won't go in. I tend to use these wet brushes which taper off because I can use that as a tool and I can sort out internals a lot nicer. And then for the final little touch, just a little lynch brush, a decent quality one, so it doesn't leave very many brush marks in the internals. And that is pretty much all that's going to be touching the walls. The hawk is 16-inch by Craft. I've had this one years. It's really, really good hawk made out of magnesium. So this hawk has taken a bit of a battering recently. Normally when you get a bit of build up like this, you can flex it and pop off the plaster and start again sort of thing. But where I've been using this for silicone render, I've been using some exterior products and new bits and pieces that have got a hardness to them and also a flexibility. They've really stuck on there, and I'm thinking I might need a new hawk. It's getting really heavy and I can't pop it off as I'm trying to flex it. It's flexing with the hawk. I think it was Star Contact stuff that I used, which was like a base coat, and that has really stuck to that hawk and upset things. I think it's just made it quite heavy. Is it?
Yeah.
No, there's nobody there when I came in this morning.
Well, you got a nice big tow bar on the back, so.
You didn't see where they went.
No, I didn't. No, I literally just managed to turn up. Yeah. It's alright. My van can take a few bumps. We managed to take out this one here, and then I figured we need to take out some awkward, so I've got this on, and then I've had a look in the bucket and I thought, where are we going to go with that next? And I thought, well, we've definitely got enough to get that wall on. And then I looked in the bucket and I thought there's just enough to get this on as well, and I still had a little bit left to dub out these deeper door frames here. So we've got that much left. This is on my fork. So I guess we're going to sit with this now, get this all flattened in and tidied up before we move on to anywhere else. We go with the old touch test. If you can touch it and it doesn't stick to your finger, it's ready to put the second coat on. You see we've flattened in, and this is the condition we are in. And we've knocked up to put the second coat on. Okay, so let's have a look what we've been up to now. So we knocked up the second coat and we put it on in the order that the walls went on. So we did this wall across here, got the second coat on. This hasn't been flattened in because we spent so much time flattening that first coat. The second coat goes on much nicer. So we come across this, then we came across this, like so. Then we took this wall out, and then we took this one out with the second coat. And I looked in the bucket and I thought, you know what? Looks like we got enough to get this first coat on this wall here. So that's been created, or it's become something like what I call a linking wall. So it's just pushing that little bit extra, but this wall is going to be slightly behind this main gauge. So when all these walls go down and finish, okay, then I'm going to have a chance to sort of like knock up, because we've only got these other two walls on, get these on, get these flattened in, and then we'll just finish off this last wall, okay, and then put all our attention into the next hit. So yeah, that's what I tend to do quite often. I find it works. Decent amount on, get it on, and with the lay down coat, just push that a little bit extra, gives you a little linking wall, and just get that little extra bit on when you've got an awkward room like this. And all the awkward is now out the way, and I still feel quite comfortable. I'm not really rushing around, I've got time to talk to you. So yeah, all the awkward is out the way, leaving for the end of the day these two walls here. And I don't mind ending the day on a bit of an easier gauge, because whilst these walls are going off and stuff, it gives you time to get your tools cleaned up and start packing your van. And then the last thing is obviously your hawk and trowel and stuff, just to get out right at the end. One coat. Okay, the builder has gone away and things have gone a bit quiet. The radio's turned off and stuff. I don't know how this video is going to come out, to be honest with you. It is going to be what it is, and obviously you're watching it now and you've got to this part of the video. So yeah, probably going to be lots of editing and music and montages on this one, but I do like a montage, so it's not a problem. Not a big problem. Right, so the second coat has just gone on these last two walls. And it's a little bit dark down here, but you can see I haven't flattened this in. This is how it's gone on. And this is what happens when you use a straight trowel, like 20x5 carbon steel, straight, not the perma shapes. You know, the perma shapes, they don't give you the feedback. So I put it on, flattened it in, and really like scrutinised them, getting things flat, not smooth. It's like floppy speed skims and stuff like that. They get things smooth, they don't really get things that flat. If there's any undulations, contours there, they'll tend to follow it, especially the plastic bladed speed skims. If you're using a perma shaped trowel, because they're so curved, and especially the large ones, you will not get the feedback from it. So this is the condition it's gone on, just for that 20x5, and I've laid it on. I haven't troweled it up or flattened it in at all. Some of the more eagle-eyed ones of you may have noticed when I did the pass round before, there were some trowel marks occurring here because this wall seems to be curling out that way. That's what that trowel was telling me. Now, if I was using a perma shaped trowel, those trowel marks wouldn't have appeared at all, and we would have just followed that contour. And I'm sure it would have been fine, but I like to get things flat. And if you do take the time to get things flat, straight from the outset, it just, the rest of the wall, the rest of the stages become easier and easier. You don't get things flat straight from the outset. So like if you threw the wall on, didn't flatten it in, then you threw the second coat on, the second coat's so undulated and you'll have trowel marks and stuff sticking through, and then you'll end up moving the problem right to the end of the wall where you start filling with fat because the wall's all undulated and stuff, and the fat doesn't go off the same as plaster, so when you leave, the moisture will shrink out of the fat, and then like and then it's harder because when you're trying to like trowel up this, oh no, the trowel's like found a hole, and you're way down the line of plastering. Now you got to like really plane that ripple out, and because it's harder. Get this flatness done when it's easy, when the plaster's wet. Thanks for watching that video. Yeah, that was a difficult one to edit. It's taken forever. It was like an hour and a half, and I had to strip that down to like 30 minutes. So yeah, I think we've exhausted the reggae section of the YouTube audio library. So yeah, that video is just what it was, and it was a hard edit, I got to admit, with all the noise and everything that was going on in there. Tomorrow we are going on a different job, and yeah, we'll see how that video turns out. This one is what it is. I'm just turning up, recording on improvisation, as you know, as it turns out. So that's how this video is. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, then please like and subscribe, and alternatively come over to the Facebook group Plaster Masters 74 should you want any more information about plastering. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Alright, it's late and my dinner's ready. I'll catch you on the next one.
Yes.